Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lisa. This is Beauty from Inside and Out. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about 5 things that I have changed my mind about when it comes to having an autoimmune disease. I'm going to put on some eyeshadow as I share these things. I hope that it's a help to you if you are one that is dealing with any kind of autoimmune disease. It has really made things, I think, more simplified for me. And I think it's going to really be of great help to you if you find yourself in this state where you have any form of autoimmune. Okay, keep watching if this sounds something that you may want to just pick up a few tips on.
If you're here, then you woke up today. And that is a blessing. Don't take that for granted. Don't waste it.
Okay, so first of all, I've already prepped my eyes with a primer and also like a setting powder to kind of have a nice clean canvas. If you don't know, one of my favorite eyeshadows to use is with Seint. I have my own little buildable palette that I made for myself instead of just going out and getting a palette. You can tell here I have one that I'm kind of like running really low on. I use it quite a bit, but these are all different shadows I'm going to use today for my eye look, keeping it real simple. They're magnetic, so I can pull them in and out, and it makes it easy to change it out when I run out of one or just change my whole palette around. So let's get started with the conversation on these 5 things that I have really found very, very beneficial in the sense that I used to think one way about it, and because I've changed my mind frame on it, it has really helped my health, as crazy as it sounds. When you have an autoimmune disease, chances are it's with you lifetime. Some can be fatal, and some can just be disability, to you. Is that a word? Disabling. It sounded better in my head. So you have to figure these things out. And I have had this autoimmune called scleroderma for 15 years now. So when I share these tips, it's not something that I have overcome overnight. I still work at this every day. I have my bad days. I have my good days. But I believe that beauty is so much more than what we're seeing in the outside. When we are not feeling well, when we're having a bad day, it impacts how we look at ourselves. So I believe beauty is so much more than what we can see in the outside. We can all look put together in the outside, and just no one has any idea what you are dealing with on a day-to-day. It's something that it can be almost a silent disease to a certain point, because how many times, I don't know if you have a certain autoimmune that I can share with someone, I don't feel good today. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, you look really good. And that's great. I so appreciate the compliments. But many times I'm like, in my mind, I wish that I can feel as good as I look, because the reality of it is that when you do have an autoimmune, chances are you're exhausted most of the time, because it just takes a toll on your body. And also that you're trying to suppress a lot of pain for the most on many situations. And that's the case for me. So let me go ahead and start out with, as I put my first base on my eye, with the first thing that I feel like I've changed in my mind, as far as how I used to look at this one way, and I kind of was really stubborn about it, and then realized, you know what? there's got to be another way. Let me put my hair back just a smidge here so it doesn't get in my eyes. So one thing that I learned, and it took me a minute to get here, you have to be your own advocate. I believe that doctors are amazing. They practice their fields. They're experts at it. I have amazing doctors that I see, and I see several for different things. But one thing that they cannot tell you, out of all the learnings that they have and their licenses and what have not, is how you feel. And let me just kind of start off from even the first instant when you know something's not just right with your body. You know that it's behaving in a different way. You're feeling things that you've never felt before, and you have to make sure that someone isn't trying to convince you that nothing's wrong. What the autoimmune I have is called scleroderma. They are only, at the time that I last saw, it could maybe have changed now, but it is not a very well-known disease. There's about maybe 300, maybe 350 at this point, thousand in the world that have scleroderma. So it's not an autoimmune that a lot of the doctors don't have the answers for. You know, many of the things are being explored. And you know what, guys? Like, I don't know about you, but like, I'm not a guinea pig. I do not want to be experimented on. So, but I didn't know this. And this is my whole point of this number kind of being the number one tip for me, is that I entrusted clearly all of my health really over to the doctors. And you know, one doctor would say, let's do this. Another doctor would say, well, what did this doctor say? I don't think that, and it can get very overwhelming. And it goes back again to what I said about just being your own advocate. If you're not feeling comfortable with a doctor that is telling you something specific, and especially if it's going to be life-changing test, procedure, you know, medication, whatever the situation is, like, go to a second opinion, and even a third if you have to. I had to go through that at the beginning the hard way. Fortunately, I had a doctor right off the bat, though, that did diagnose me and knew right away what it was. I thank God for that, because there are many people that go a long time without even getting any answer as to what is the problem. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But as time went on and different things started changing and I started getting other symptoms, I then started getting referred out to other doctors and the other physicians. And I won't get into what specialty or the names, but it was, we didn't sync. And that's okay. You know, like, you don't have to feel that every time you go to see a doctor that you're going to 100% be like, okay, this is the doctor, this is it. Like, it has to, you have to be able to work well, you know, with the doctor, because again, you're entrusting this doctor to help you out in this long-term journey, right? So be your own advocate is what I recommend as someone that has had an autoimmune for 15 years. And so make sure that you're being heard when you see a doctor, whether it's a specialist or your primary. It really does make a difference on your health long term. Okay, so I went ahead and used this one shade, guys. I love it. It's that first one that I'm almost out of. It's called Lullaby. Again, these are all it's saying. If you like these, you can always pick these up on the website that I have below. And I think it's such a pretty color, isn't that? Yeah, just nice. Very, very subtle. I think it goes well with every skin tone. So it's just a good base color on the cooler side. It's the one that I will choose if I want to kind of incorporate a warm tone and a cool tone. So really pretty. Okay, so as I go in now with my other color, darker color, to go on the outer lid, let me move on to the second tip. So this other thing I felt like was, I hate to use the word game changer, but it really, again, it was a struggle that I was having, and man, if I could have just learned this one right away, I would have saved myself a lot of saying no. Just saying no. And what I mean by that is I love to I'm a social bug. I love to be around people and conversations and parties and gatherings, and I do. However, I no, I don't want to say burn myself out, but I paid the price when I pushed my body more than it could have taken. And what I mean by that is I couldn't be clearly at every function. I had to decide, you know what? Can't do it. It was not the easiest thing though, again, because my personality, who I am, I do love to be able to go and be wherever I get invited to, right? Whether it's parties or gatherings or wedding or wherever, like you kind of put, you know, whatever that situation may be. But I could not keep up with the schedule that I once used to be able to. And it was very frustrating. But I realized that the day after, then having to shut my body down completely because I was over the top exhausted or in excruciating pain, or just couldn't even put two thoughts together, because that's what typically happens when you are in pain. It's almost like that whole thing when you're in that initial pain, everything shuts down, like your brain just almost shuts down. And that's kind of what happens basically. So saying no, which it kind of goes back to now, even the platform that I have and I've chosen to be on, right? Whether it's here on YouTube or over on Instagram, which I share quite a bit on, it is my source of being able to stay social, quote unquote, right? Because I can do it from the comfort of my home, and I can stop and shut down when I need to. So although it doesn't replace being in person, you know, as often as I would like to be, I still do definitely get out and, you know, but it's when I'm having a good day. And the other thing that goes along with it is that even when I have decided to go out to the invitation, I've had to learn to say, okay, I can feel that it's been a bit, I'm getting tired. It's time to go. Even though I want to stay and I want to enjoy the rest of the company, it's time to go. Cut the gathering shorter than what I would like. Or if that's not possible, and let's say I am at a gathering with others that I went with, I need to unplug. I think that the combination of just getting older, on top of the fact that I have the autoimmune disease, I get very overstimulated quickly. So within an hour and a half or 2 hours after being in a place where there's just a lot of people, I need to kind of like retrieve. Whether it's just to step away and just get myself into a space where it's quiet, just even in prayer, ask God to help me and give me strength to proceed for the rest of the evening or the day, whatever. I've had to learn to do that. I need to push myself through. And I think that when you, again, going back to, it's not going to be beneficial to you to do that because you're going to pay the price for it. And as hard as it is to say, excuse me, or no, I can't. I'm not going to sacrifice that. I've learned that in the long haul, it has given me a better management of how I can control as best as I can, not getting extremely exhausted or extremely, going through my body through pain, if that makes any sense. Okay, so I have now added this second color. I think it's so pretty. It is called Trust. This one's called Trust. And then I just take a little bit of that and I bring it kind of down in the corner of my eye. And blend as much as I can with the fluffy end of the brush so that I can get a nice cohesive look on the eye. Okay, so I'm ready to incorporate another color to kind of brighten the center of my lid. And let's go ahead and get into the third tip that I have as far as what I have learned that has helped me, guys. And I hope that really you take any of these into consideration with whatever autoimmune disease you're dealing with. It's a journey. It's really a journey. Again, if you are in day one and you're trying to understand and, absorb what it is that you've now been diagnosed with, remember that there's phases and it's a journey. I have another video that I shared about having scleroderma. If you go back down into my feeds, you'll be able to see it, because I did share about basically the 5 or the several steps that you go through when you are given this news. It's almost a death to the life you've had. So you go through phases. So check that video out, and I think that that'll kind of wrap pretty much what I went through. And it may be something that you may be starting on if it is your day one of having some kind of an autoimmune disease. But getting into my third tip, this one is a fun one. Okay, this is a fun one. I thought, let me just not make it all serious, because there are certain things that you had to even give up that are also maybe a personal choice that's not necessarily life-changing, but it was something that I had to give up. Okay, so that is, guys, ready for it? Getting tattoos. I know. Okay, now let me give you a little bit of backstory on my whole thing with my journey of wanting a tattoo. Okay, so this is the next one that I'm putting on. And it is so pretty. It's called Peppa. I'm gonna try putting this on my lid with these nails. I'm trying out these new nails that that I purchased. This is the same company that I get my lashes, and they're called Street. I always forget the name of this company. Lilac Street. Lilac Street. So anyways, so I'm gonna see how interesting this is gonna be, putting this on with these nails. But it's such a pretty color, guys. I love it so much. It's called Peppa. Okay, so tattoos. I always wanted a tattoo when I was a kid, younger, teenage, But of course, my mom was like, no way, you're not getting a tattoo. There's no way. As a matter of fact, I don't even think I even asked, because I just knew the answer. But when I was a grown adult, already married, with a child, I said, you know what? I still want a tattoo. And I knew what I wanted. I didn't want anything that I would clearly regret. I wanted it to mean something. I have a passion for dolphins. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get a pretty little dolphin with my son's name underneath. And that's what I got. I was already like in my, I think, 30s. And I have it just above my ankle. And this was way before I was diagnosed with scleroderma. And so my plan, or what I would have loved to have done, was to get several other ones. You know, it's like the whole thing of like, you know, once you get your first one, it becomes addicting. That is so true. And I really wanted to get other tattoos along areas where they weren't necessarily like seen. But I knew they were there, and I knew that they were there for a specific reason. So I wanted to do that, you know. Didn't get the chance to continue down that journey because the doctor that I started to see, one of the main doctors, which is a rheumatologist. She explained to me the whole thing about how that can really be I'm going to say it like it can hurt more than it can help. And she was able to really explain to me the dangers as far as continuing to get more. She says, okay, you got it, that's fine, you didn't have, you know, you weren't diagnosed then, but the whole thing of you know, it possibly just getting into your bloodstreams, and if there's an infection, the whole complication that can come from that. So it just really made me think and ponder and say, okay, is this worth it? Is it really worth the trouble that can come behind all of that? And I had to make a big pause. And it was something that I just personally really wanted to continue to do. And for the sake of my health, I had to put a pause and just stay at the one tattoo. So if this is you and you're kind of like thinking the same thing, like, I love that I get to do that, express, you know, my creativity or my artistry through having tattoos. Think about it. Just think about it. Talk to your doctor. Kind of, you know, again, each autoimmune is very different. With me, it was the case. And so I had to put a big cross. No, couldn't do that any longer. Okay, so I'm liking this whole little combo that I'm doing. Again, this is a pretty color that I could do like in the daytime and feel like it's not overdone, or go and add some more colors to do an evening look. So I'm liking this color. But the last one I'm going to do, and then I'll kind of hit the last two tips that I hope that is going to help you. And I'm going to do my brow bone, and I love doing a very light color like in the tear duct of my eye. Okay, fourth one. Okay, this one was one that I am still working towards, but I do see and I understand the clear benefits after putting it to the test. And that is being active. Exercise. Okay, I know that's such a bad word, exercise. But I'm going to tell you that what I have noticed, it's almost like an oxymoron. I would tell the doctor, there's no way I can exercise. I am in pain like 90% of the time. Pain level is usually sitting right around between a 1 and a scale from 1 to 10 at about maybe a 4 or 5, like every single day. So I have a high tolerance for pain, and therefore I can push myself through, but ultimately it ends up in that category that then I'm paying for it, right? So it's being on a hamster wheel almost when it comes to exercising, and when you are dealing with some kind of an autoimmune. Now, this is where the oxymoron thing comes in that I experienced. So I went ahead and said, okay, the simple things that I can do that doesn't really necessarily, because I can't do all kinds of exercising, but there are two that helped me quite a bit. One is swimming, because that takes very little effort on the body. Being, your body just being so light in the water that you're not having to overuse a lot of strength to move your body. So that helps. Okay. Walking is very simple. Now, with the walking, I've also learned two things. One is that I'm not going to clearly do an hour of walking. That's not going to work for me. But I don't have to do that. All I need to do really is just about maybe 15 minutes. And 15 minutes is quite a bit if you're doing it daily. Again, this is something I am still working on. So it is hard because I have to get past through, and maybe this will help you. When I'm already in pain, trying to think of having to do some form of exercise, to me, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because I'm already in pain, and now I'm going to add more pain to the pain, or be uncomfortable because I'm already in pain trying to do whatever activity that I'm doing. But one thing that I've noticed, I have actually been in pain. Now, I'm not talking about like excruciating pain. If I've got like high levels of pain that day, I'm shutting it down. But I'm talking about something that I can actually push through. Once I am done with whatever I'm doing, whether it is some kind of like activity in the pool or a simple 15-minute walk, afterwards, it's almost like my muscles needed that massage of that form of activity, whether it is like an aerobic kind of swimming thing, or walking, lifting, even like using not so much lifting weights, because that's difficult for me, but there's other ways that you can still work on your muscles. And you can use like those what do you call those? They're like these little stretch bands, and that's helped quite a bit. I need to get better at doing it regularly and consistently so that I can see results, and also that I can feel better, because once I do stretching in that form with using those stretchable bands, it's amazing. It's amazing how much more energy I'll have. And again, it's for me, it was almost difficult to try to get past that thought of like, okay, I'm in pain, so I can't judge the amount of pain that you're in. And again, depending on what it is that you have, right? Whatever disability you have, this may not even affect you personally, and you can do all kinds of activity. But if you are dealing with pain, moderate pain to, more severe pain, and you are fatigued, not tired, I'm talking like there's a certain exhaustion that comes with certain autoimmunes that is unexplainable. You don't even necessarily have to be doing anything. You can just be exhausted. And those are days that it is what it is. I'm not going to get around to doing any activity. So that's a huge one. I think that was eye-opening for me, and getting past I can't do any kind of exercise at all. I can find something that I can do, and then do it as much as I can and when I can. But do it still to help your body in general, with the muscles and with the energy. And so hopefully that will help kind of like put that in a nutshell. Okay, so the last one, guys, and I'm already done with my eyes. I went ahead and I used a wax for my brows, and but look how pretty that is, guys. Okay, so again, interested in that, go ahead and look in the descriptions below. But the last one, guys, now that I have like my makeup all done, is vanity, being vain. Okay, so as I said earlier, when you're feeling your best, when you're in pain, you don't feel the prettiest. All of this, putting on the makeup, doing some skincare, like taking care of myself, is not vain. It's not vanity. And I think that we can be guilted into believing that. One thing I learned, and it kind of coincides with the whole vanity thing. I, for a while, and this was already way into having the autoimmune, I think that us as women, we are just caregivers, I think, for the most part, right? By nature. We're nurturers, right? We're moms. And I wanted to do everything for everybody. And I still struggle with that, you know. I've learned to measure my my time better, and how I do help. But if you don't take care of yourself, and this was a hard one for me, that I have to remind myself over and over, I am going to be, I'm sure many of you have heard this, no good to anybody. So the little things that you do, all of the things like that I've mentioned even here today, these 5 things, in the long run, it is going to help you to take care of yourself so that you can be a good friend, a great mom, an amazing wife, a good, a helpful encourager, whatever, like fill in the blank, right? To someone. Because if you have nothing to give from you because you are just so exhausted or in pain or you're struggling, if you don't take these little things and implement them, in your life somewhere, it will take a toll. It will take a toll. And again, it's something that I have just learned for myself. I hope that it will be something that you can kind of just keep a mental notation on, or write it down and just remember for yourself that it will help you be the best you can be when you take all of these little things and implement them in your journey of having an autoimmune disease. Okay, I thank you so much for being here. I hope that you've made this to the end. If you have, don't forget to give this a like, subscribe, share it with somebody that maybe you think needs to hear this, whether it is sharing a little eyeshadow makeup or maybe a little bit of these tips on living with an autoimmune disease and things that I have found that has changed, really has been just very life-changing for me. And so hopefully it'll help you. Until next week, I will see you then. Bye.